Marriage is often described as the ultimate commitment, a lifelong promise to stand by each other through thick and thin. But in Hollywood, lifelong sometimes barely means a weekend. With flashing cameras, whirlwind romances, and spur-of-the-moment decisions, some celebrity marriages have collapsed faster than you can finish watching a honeymoon montage. And today we're diving into the most jaw-dropping, quickest celebrity divorces ever. Stories so short-lived, they almost feel unreal. Let's begin with the one that shocked the entire world in the early 2000s. Britney Spears and Jason Alexander. In 2004, the world's biggest pop icon made headlines that had absolutely nothing to do with her music. Britney Spears walked down the aisle in Las Vegas, not with a fellow star, not with a Hollywood heartthrob, but with Jason Alexander, her childhood friend from back home in Louisiana. The decision came out of nowhere. Fans woke up to news reports screaming that Britney had gotten married in the middle of the night in true Vegas style. The wedding may have seemed fun and spontaneous at the time, but reality hit hard almost immediately. Just a little over 2 days later, yes, less than 3 full days, the marriage was annulled. The official documents claimed Britney lacked understanding of her actions, and her team quickly moved in to erase the impulsive decision. Jason, on the other hand, gave interviews saying it was Britney's idea and that they were genuinely in love, but the world never got to see that play out. To this day, that 55-hour union stands as one of the shortest marriages in entertainment history, and it cemented Britney's place not just as a pop culture icon, but also as someone capable of making decisions that would keep her name in the headlines for decades. Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. Next, let's rewind to the late 1990s. Carmen Electra, one of the most recognizable TV personalities of the era, and Dennis Rodman, the NBA star known as much for his outrageous antics as for his talent on the court, were Hollywood's definition of chaos and passion rolled into one. Their relationship was fiery, unpredictable, and constantly making front-page news. In November 1998, the two stunned the world by sneaking into Las Vegas and getting married in a chapel ceremony that nobody saw coming. For a moment, it looked like this unexpected pairing might actually work. They were both wild, free-spirited, and clearly drawn to each other's energy. But the honeymoon phase didn't even last 2 weeks. Just 9 days after saying I do, Dennis filed for an annulment, claiming he was of unsound mind at the time of the wedding. Carmen later admitted in interviews that their relationship was intoxicating but destructive, saying they were caught up in the excitement and recklessness of the moment rather than building something stable. Though they briefly tried to reconcile after the annulment, the truth was undeniable. This marriage was doomed from the start, and it went down as one of the most dramatic blink-and-you-miss-it unions in celebrity history. Cher and Greg Allman. Now, let's move to the mid-1970s, where another shocking whirlwind romance took center stage. Cher, already a megastar fresh off her divorce from Sonny Bono, seemed ready to turn the page. Just 3 days after finalizing that split, she stunned fans by marrying Greg Allman, the legendary frontman of the Allman Brothers Band. The two were polar opposites. Cher was glamorous, constantly in the public eye, and known for her polished image. Greg, on the other hand, was a hard-living rock star whose struggles with drugs and alcohol were no secret. Their wedding in 1975 had fans buzzing. Was this a rebound, or was it love at first sight? But within just over a week, the answer became clear. Cher filed for divorce only 9 days later, citing Greg's substance abuse as a breaking point. And while the world thought that was the end, their story didn't close immediately. They briefly reconciled, even having a son together. But the cracks in the relationship never fully healed. That whirlwind marriage became a symbol of how even two powerful forces in music, seemingly drawn together by fate, couldn't overcome the destructive patterns behind closed doors. And believe it or not, these are just the opening chapters of Hollywood's shortest-lived unions. Because as wild as these 3 stories are, there are still plenty more examples of celebrities who barely lasted through the honeymoon before calling it quits. As we've seen, even some of the biggest names in music and entertainment couldn't make their marriages last beyond a handful of days. But the stories don't end there. The early 2000s and 2010s brought a new wave of celebrity unions that burned bright and fizzled out fast, some so short-lived that fans barely had time to process the wedding photos before the divorce papers were filed. Nicky Hilton and Todd Andrew Meister. Paris Hilton may have been the reality star always in the spotlight, but in 2004, it was her younger sister Nicky Hilton who grabbed headlines for a whirlwind Vegas wedding. She tied the knot with Todd Andrew Meister, a wealthy businessman and longtime family friend. The wedding seemed sudden, but those close to the family weren't completely shocked. Hilton and Meister had been in each other's lives for years. The problem? Nicky was only 21, and their lives were moving in completely different directions. He was a New York-based businessman with a demanding lifestyle, while she was a jet-setting socialite constantly on the move. The pair quickly realized marriage wasn't going to work, and just 3 months later, the union was annulled. It was short, messy, and another reminder that sometimes even the most glamorous weddings in Vegas are little more than temporary adventures. Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries. Now, one of the most infamous celebrity marriages of modern times. In 2011, Kim Kardashian married NBA player Kris Humphries in what was billed as a fairy tale romance. The wedding was lavish, filmed for television, and cost millions of dollars. Millions of fans tuned in to see Kim walk down the aisle, and for a brief moment, it looked like a love story fit for the spotlight. But the cracks appeared almost immediately. Just 72 days after the wedding, Kim filed for divorce, sparking a media frenzy. The short-lived marriage became a global headline, with many accusing Kim of staging the entire event for publicity. While Kim has always denied that claim, even admitting later that she felt intense pressure to go through with the wedding despite her doubts, the damage was done. The divorce lasted longer than the marriage itself, dragging on for over a year in court battles. To this day, Kim and Kris's 72-day marriage is one of the most talked-about examples of how a dream wedding doesn't always mean a lasting partnership. Eddie Murphy and Tracy Edmonds. When comedian Eddie Murphy and film producer Tracy Edmonds tied the knot in 2008, it seemed like a perfect match. Their ceremony took place on the beautiful beaches of Bora Bora, and the photos looked like something out of a magazine. But here's the twist. The marriage was never legally binding in the United States. It was a symbolic ceremony, meant to be followed by a civil ceremony back home. That second wedding never happened. Just 2 weeks after their beachside vows, the couple announced they were going their separate ways. Reports suggested that intense arguments broke out almost immediately after the ceremony, and the relationship crumbled before they even had a chance to make it official. In the end, their love story became another example of how not all high-profile romances survive once the wedding spotlight fades. Drew Barrymore and Jeremy Thomas. Finally, let's rewind to the mid-1990s, when Drew Barrymore was only 19 years old and already living life in the fast lane of Hollywood. In 1994, she shocked friends and fans by marrying Jeremy Thomas, a bar owner she had known for just a matter of weeks. The ceremony took place on the rooftop of his Los Angeles bar, and it carried all the hallmarks of a young, impulsive decision fueled by excitement rather than stability. But as fast as it started, it ended. Just 39 days later, Drew filed for divorce, closing the book on a marriage that barely made it past 1 month. Later in interviews, Drew admitted that her youth and impulsiveness led to the quick union, and it served as a learning experience in her whirlwind Hollywood journey. For many fans, the story of her month-long marriage stands out as a reminder of how easy it is for young stars to get swept up in the glamour of the moment. These 4 marriages may have been longer than the 55-hour or 9-day unions we heard earlier, but they still fell apart so quickly that they became etched into Hollywood's history of blink-and-you-miss-it love stories. And yet, believe it or not, we're still not done. Because the list of lightning-fast marriages continues with more shocking stories, including Pamela Anderson, Mario Lopez, and Sophia Bush. Stars who also found out that happily ever after sometimes lasts less than a season. As we've seen, Hollywood has a long history of whirlwind romances that vanish almost as quickly as they begin. But the final set of marriages on our list proves that even some of the biggest stars in the world can get caught up in love and then realize just how short-lived it can be. Pamela Anderson and Rick Salomon. Pamela Anderson, the Baywatch icon known for her beauty, charisma, and larger-than-life personal life, has had her fair share of headline-grabbing relationships. In 2007, she married Rick Salomon, a businessman known in Hollywood circles for his controversial past. The wedding was private, but the news quickly spread. Fans were eager to see if Pamela's new union would last longer than some of her previous relationships. Unfortunately, it did not. The marriage lasted only a few months before Pamela filed for an annulment in early 2008. While the reasons were never fully disclosed, insiders reported that the relationship was rushed and that both parties quickly realized they had very little in common beyond initial attraction. It was a brief chapter in Pamela's life that made waves in the tabloids, but barely left a mark on her personal story, except as a cautionary tale about the dangers of rushing into marriage, even for a superstar. Mario Lopez and Ali Landry. Next, we have a union between two faces recognizable from television screens across the nation. Mario Lopez, the actor and host, and Ali Landry, former Miss USA and actress. They married in 2004 in what many thought would be a glamorous, lasting Hollywood romance. Fans were eager to see this couple flourish, blending charm, looks, and celebrity status. However, the marriage barely had time to establish itself. Just 2 weeks after exchanging vows, Ali filed for an annulment after discovering issues that couldn't be reconciled, including infidelity on Mario's part. The abrupt end was a shock to many, and their story remains a prime example of how even seemingly perfect matches can crumble almost instantly under pressure and hidden conflicts. Sophia Bush and Chad Michael Murray. Finally, we turn to a marriage that combined the worlds of teen drama and Hollywood allure. Sophia Bush, known for her breakout role on One Tree Hill, and Chad Michael Murray, her co-star and fellow rising star, became one of the most talked-about young couples in the mid-2000s. Fans loved seeing their on-screen chemistry translate into real life, until the reality of marriage hit. The couple tied the knot in 2005, and at first, everything seemed picture-perfect. But behind the scenes, their relationship struggled to adapt to the intense public attention and the pressures of young Hollywood careers. Within 5 months, they had separated, filing for divorce soon afterward. Though the marriage was short, it remains one of the most talked-about young celebrity unions of that era, serving as a reminder that fame and romance don't always mix. And there you have it, from Britney Spears' legendary 55-hour marriage to Sophia Bush and Chad Michael Murray's whirlwind 5-month union, Hollywood is full of marriages that burned bright and vanished even faster than anyone could imagine. These stories aren't just about quick divorces. They're about the intense pressures of fame, the consequences of impulsive decisions, and the reality that sometimes love in Hollywood moves faster than the paparazzi can snap a photo. Whether it's Vegas weddings, lavish ceremonies, or celebrity rebounds, one thing is clear. In the world of the stars, even a perfect wedding doesn't guarantee a lifetime together. These lightning-fast divorces prove that sometimes the most shocking stories aren't the marriages themselves. It's how quickly they can end. So next time you hear about a whirlwind celebrity wedding, remember, the next headline might be a divorce announcement before the cake is even cut.